Coming up, 9 more layouts to enthrall and inspire you. Ranging in size from N gauge to O gauge, there is something for everyone. One of the layouts was awarded first prize of the association members. I'm Andrew Gebbie. You're watching the Heritage and Model Rail channel. This is one of a 6-part series that was recorded at Model Rail Scotland in Glasgow in 2020. Make sure you don't miss any other parts by becoming a subscriber. Also, select the bell icon to be notified when a new video is released. This EM gauge layout is Hornsey Broadway, exhibited by Keir Hardy. There are a number of limited vantage points in the metropolis due to the built-up nature of the area. But here we will be able to see a cross-section of express passenger and suburban trains, along with a wide variety of interregional freight making its way to and from marshalling yards and industries of East London. I spoke with Keir at the exhibition to get some more information.
Primarily this is a recreation of my train spotting days when I was a teenager. It's the area of North London, an amalgam of various locations, and somewhere where we would have seen trains passing by, the sort of trains that you would have seen back in the day.
Right, and what sort of era is it?
We're talking early 1970s.
Okay. How big is it?
The scenic section is 24 foot long, but to enable trains to run through the scene, we have the end curves and the storage yard at the back, which takes the layout up to a total size of 40 foot long. There's 4 independent circuits, and you can connect from one to the other via various loops, crossovers, flyovers and cut-unders.
How have you done your back scene?
I've tended not to bother too much with the back scene, but to try and create or enclose the scene by using 3-dimensional buildings.
Right.
So what you see at the back of the layout are the buildings raised high to try and give that effect.
The buildings, are they scratch or kit?
There's a mixture there of HO scale kits. There's a lot of scratch built buildings. Just 1 or 2 you might be able to identify as ready to plonk, but heavily customised.
Okay. Control, what's your control system?
Just basic DC.
Okay.
We haven't gone down any
digital
routes. No, there's no digital.
Track, what's your track?
The scenic section we tend to use C&L, ready to lay EM, and then all the point work is built in situ using copper-clad sleepers.
Okay.
For the off-scene section we tend to use the more robust SMP, and in the storage yard we use aluminium angle.
What's your stock?
It's a mixture of kit built and proprietary ready to run, but again everything's customised. We use a lot of Bachmann, Elgin, there's 1 or 2 Hornby items, and the kits, well, we've got Parkside kits, mainly for the wagon fleet, so there's quite a variety there.
Okay. I notice you've got a number of operators. How many people does it take to operate?
At any one time there are 6 controllers, so we have 2 for the depot and 4 for the main lines. So if we have a team of 9, it means that we have sort of a good system of rest and sure.
Thank you very much. Kinlochewe, modelled in 00 gauge and presented by Falkirk Model Railway Club. The layout is based upon the West Highland Line station and track layout of Moray in northwest Scotland, after British Rail's implementation of Radio Electronic Tokenless Block (RETB) signalling in the mid-1980s. The operating period is from 1986 to 1989, with BR Blue and LLB locos and blue-grey coaches. Freight comprises timber, oil and infrastructure traffic. The model is built to a scale of 1 to 76 using Pico code 7500 gauge track. DCC control is used for train operation with a conventional switch panel to operate the points and the electromagnetic uncouplers. This 00 gauge layout is called Hills of the North, the Spirit of Shap, and is exhibited by Graham Nicholas. The main line over Shap's summit in the Cumbrian Fells has been an irresistible draw for generations of railway enthusiasts. The layout attempts to recreate something of the atmosphere in the classic steam era, including a recreation of the banking arrangements that were employed to assist the heavier trains up the incline. The layout has been built on a gradient so that the trains really do have to climb the bank. The layout takes 3 places on the climb of Shap Bank and blends them into one continuous scenic presentation some 35 feet long. In the uphill direction, trains enter the scene under the Greenholme Road Bridge. This then transforms into the classic location on the prolonged embankment at Shap Wells. The trains then enter a sizable cutting before passing the sidings and signal box at Shap Summit itself. Here any bankers employed drop off the rear of the train before crossing over to return down the bank towards T-Bay. The scenic work attempts to capture the bleak open moorland setting with plenty of dry stone walls and few trees. A graduated forced perspective approach has been applied behind the main line to blend into the back scene. Working signals are installed, including the distinctive intermediate block colour light signal at Shap Wells. Starting in the 1950s Crimson and Cream era, the full range of iconic ex-LMS Stanier steam fleet can be seen at work, with famous trains such as the Royal Scot, Midday Scot and the Caledonian featured. By the late 1950s, maroon liveried stock is much in evidence, with BR standard types also at work. This N-gauge layout is California SurfLine, exhibited by Blyth and Tyne Model Railway Society. SurfLine is the name given to the stretch of railroad that runs from San Diego up through Los Angeles to Santa Barbara, 100 miles to the north of Los Angeles. It gets its name as a large part of the route hugs the coastline. The layout is based on the northern part of the route, in particular the area around Santa Barbara, as this town is attractive and compact by American standards. The Amtrak station is very close to the beach and in the town itself. The fiddle yard runs round the inside of the layout and can accommodate fairly lengthy trains such as double-stack container trains. I spoke to Trevor at the exhibition, who gave me a little bit more information. And how big is the layout?
It's 10 foot by 6 foot.
Okay. What about buildings? Are they scratch built or are they?
All the buildings are kits mainly from Walter's Cornerstone range.
Track? What's your track?
The track is Pico codes 55, operated by SECC Point Motors.
What's your control? DC, is it?
It's DC control, cab control, with potentially 3 cabs.
Your stock, what's your stock?
The stock is a mixture of a third Walters, Atlas.
And what about operation? Is it a one-man operation?
Yeah, the layout was originally conceived for one-man operation, so the layout in theory can fit in the back of an SUV and can be operated by one man.
This O-gauge layout is Cragganmore, exhibited by Elgin Model Railway Club. Set in Speyside, the fictitious village and station at Cragganmore takes its name from the distillery, which does exist. There was a railway line to the distillery, but the track plan bears no similarity to it, although the buildings are closely based upon those in the actual distillery. The time is the early 60s, and a range of locomotives can be seen running from ex-LMS and LNER locomotives to early diesels. As the area is so far from central office, repainting sometimes takes a little time, so although all are BR numbered, early and late logos can be seen. Passenger traffic is served by 3-coach loco-haul trains and a DMU, and there is a wide variety of goods wagons, including some of the Cragganmore distillery's own stock, including a tanker of bulk whisky. The station, to a West Highland design, is on an island platform served by a footbridge from the nearby bus stop and car park, and the village can be seen in the background. Simple loco servicing facilities exist, and beyond the turntable are the cattle dock and coal yard, and there is also a goods line. Beyond the road bridge there is the signal box, and access to the timber yard, which can also deal with other goods on occasion, with the line curving away to the distillery and places beyond. Track is all Pico and control is by NCE DCC equipment. The semaphore signals are operational, signal and point control being from a central control panel. Stock is added and removed with 2 cassette sections behind the scenic break at the distillery. 1 cassette serving the upline and the other the downline. This N-gauge layout is Kirkton, exhibited by Falkirk Model Railway Club. You can build this type of layout at home, as it is built simply on an 8-foot by 4-foot board, fitted onto 2 boards for easy transport. Kirkton is an imaginary village set in the 1960s at the end of the steam era and the introduction of diesel power. The village is situated on a through main line where express passenger trains occasionally stop. However, there are more frequent stopping local passenger trains as well as passing freight. Apart from a shop, pub and school, there is also a busy goods yard with some industrial units. This new layout demonstrates to the beginner how to have an N-gauge layout that could be adapted to fit any spare room or garage. This N-gauge layout is Castlebridge, exhibited by Cumbernauld Model Railway Club. Castlebridge was based originally on the area around Castlebridge and Allendale in the late 50s to early 60s, and depicts a loose interpretation of Castlebridge Station, Castlebridge Viaduct and the brickworks. With modeller's licence and in an effort to save space, the number of arches in the viaduct has been reduced from 8 to 6. The layout is a runaround and includes a small rural station and a goods yard, together with access to the brickwork sidings and a small fiddle yard to the rear. The period depicted was originally the late 50s to early 60s, when the station and yard were in decline, and shortly before its closure, with express passenger, coal and goods traffic passing through the station, with the occasional local stopping train, together with local pickup goods calling at the station or brickworks. Modeller's licence again, but what if the station was still open, with the buildings and infrastructure frozen in time? The rolling stock is generally from the late steam period right through to the present day. Control of the layout is traditional DC. This N-gauge layout is Nae-Ware in Moray, exhibited by the Moray Model Railway Group. So I'm here with Neil Ellison at the layout Nae-Ware in Moray. Okay Neil, so what's the inspiration for the layout?
Good question. I've always wanted to do an N-gauge layout, and I work basically on the Strasbourg Railway. So the idea came of having a layout where you can run BR stock and anything else you want without the purist commenting. The top layer is BR 1970s, 1980s, and the bottom deck is very loosely based on the Strasbourg Railway, which means I can run anything I want on the bottom.
Okay. How big is it?
It's just over 8 foot long, that's about 9 foot in
And how wide is it?
It's just over 2 foot, because the top deck is shunted over the top of the other board by about 2.5 inches.
The back seam, what's the back seam based on?
Whatever I could get in paper that I could paste on the back. Just an industrial landscape to warrant the BR 70s and 80s, because you've got a little marshalling yard there at the back, so you've got 2 loops and then a little marshalling yard. So you can do a bit of shunting, just keep locos running round and round, keep the public entertained with the locos going round.
Buildings, are they scratch or kit?
No, they're all Farish resin buildings or plastic kits. But not me, I'm not that good at Engage, that small.
Your track, what's your track?
The top track in the BR is all Pico, but the bottom track is Fleischmann.
All pre-ballasted?
Yeah. And also what I've done there is modified the points. So instead of having Fleischmann point motors, I've modified them so they work on Pico point motors by drilling a little hole in them and putting the pin up.
Control, what's your control?
3 different types of controllers, just DC.
Right.
There's no DCC. It's digital by the finger.
What about stock? What are you running in stock?
Oh, a variety, all sorts. From Fleischmann, I've got Fleischmann German locos, Farish, Minitrix. It's some that people have given me.
Operation, how do you got, I see 2 guys on the track at the moment.
So you've got 2 guys. One can operate the top track independently and the bottom loop is independent as well. So the 2 should never meet, basically.
This N-gauge layout is Law Junction, exhibited by the East Neuk Model Railway Club. Law Junction is a model of the real location on the West Coast main line between Carstairs and Motherwell, where freight trains from Moss End Yard and local passenger trains via Wishaw diverge from the main line. The layout includes the freight terminal next to the junction yard and is set in the approximate period of 2003 to 2006. Most of the layout is built accurately to scale, although some compression of length has been required in the junction area. The layout shows a railway in the landscape rather than just the railway itself. Features to look out for include the buildings, all scratch built from photographs taken at the site, the overhead electrification equipment, which is non-functional in the model, and the operating colour light signals, which are controlled using modules by Heathcote Electronics. Track is Pico and the backstage fiddle yard is sectioned to allow a maximum of 30 trains in each direction. Rolling stock is a mixture of ready to run and kit built using standard N-gauge couplings. Container trains use C-rail containers, which were initially a byproduct of this layout project.
And last but by no means least, the first prize goes to Law Junction.
To watch more videos like this, click on the playlist and I'll see you there.